Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is BDF44 hollering at you with another video. Magic Johnson stepped down as Lakers president abruptly yesterday, and quite honestly, I don't really even know what to think about it. I'm coming to you speaking, but words are just seemingly coming out of my mouth. I don't actually know what I think of this because it's very difficult to process when you consider the reputation of Magic Johnson is that of someone who doesn't quit just about anything, with the exception of a coaching job that he only kept for 20 games back in like the 90s. Magic Johnson has excelled in everything on and off the basketball floor, and this is a basketball job. I figured he would be able to, do what he intended to do, and to a point, I don't blame him. You know, for all of Magic Johnson's great attributes, and there are endless great attributes about this individual. One of the things that he could not reel in was his I want to say this right, but I'm just going to say it wrong and then try to preface it. His mouth. He couldn't reel it in. Now, what I mean by that is he's such a caring and supportive individual as it pertains to the NBA that he wants to be able to express his excitement about players. He's a player first. And not only is he a player, he's one of the players when you think about this great sport of basketball. So he wants to be able to help players like Ben Simmons and Giannis and whomever may come about, who may ask for his hand in support or some type of it's something from him that he can't give them based on the guidelines of being president and the tampering rules. I don't think that the tampering rules are off. I think they have it right in terms of not wanting people to speak on things. I think what they don't have right is enforcing it 100% of the time. They need to be a little more consistent about how they enforce their rule, but I think the rule is fine. What I didn't think was fine was the fact that Magic Johnson's personality lends itself to, basically being there for others. That's really what he was good at, both on and off the court, was making others better. He's a supportive person. He's a person who seems to have eyes behind his head, who tends to be keenly aware of the feelings of others and how to incorporate a sense of inspiration in them and a sense of confidence in them. He was great at that. But when you take that from him, what you're left with is somebody who can't seem to reel that in, even if for the betterment of the profession. And that's a weakness, unfortunately. And I think that's what really harmed Magic Johnson in his job. Now, did it cost him his confidence to do the job? I don't know. I personally think it may be some other things going on, like the Luke situation, like maybe some other things that haven't been reported. But I think that where he really showed his worst version of himself, I guess, was when people were asking him certain things and he would have to try to reel it in and he would fail to do so, or he would misspeak. Those type of things were things that just were very difficult for him to adjust to as president of the Lakers. And I didn't think he should have to, quite honestly. He's so great of a player that putting him in a Laker position literally handcuffed him and his personality, which is his absolute best attribute outside of passing the basketball. So you made Magic Johnson become somebody he didn't like being, and then you asked him to succeed in circumstances that weren't quite great. I don't know how much power he claims that Jeanie empowered him to do everything he wanted to do. I have questions about that. He claims that he didn't want to ruin the relationship with Jeanie that he had. I don't question that at all. I believe that. But I think that there's more to what we are aware of at this time, and maybe more than what we will probably find out. But one of the things that stuck out that I don't think is getting enough conversation in regards to his statements about leaving the Lakers was the fact that he said come this morning, April the 10th, he was going to have to affect someone's life in a way that he didn't want to, which lended itself to believe that he was going to have to fire either Luke Walton, Rob Pelinka, both of them, or the equipment guy who was just fired, because that's the only firing that's been announced today. Maybe he just didn't want to fire people, although it's been reported that complete opposite, basically, that he did want to fire people and that he wasn't allowed to or something like that. Although it was reported today that Jeanie did give him the green light to fire Luke. That has yet to take place as of right now. So, a Laker fan here, been a Laker fan since he was 9 years old. I've loved this team all my life. I've never been less interested in this team than I have been this season. Didn't start out that way, of course. It was complete opposite. Beginning of the season, I was super excited. We got LeBron James. I still am very, very happy to have LeBron James. I actually don't really blame him for much other than his effort on the defensive end in particular pockets of the season. It wasn't every game, but it was bad enough to where I lost my patience as a fan with the effort that I saw. But that was really the only real problem I had with LeBron James. Another minor issue I had with LeBron James was the same issue that has been reported, which is his body language. But that's something that comes with who he is. He tends to have bad body language. That's something that we knew coming into the situation. And that's something that I don't think we're going to get him to fix in year 16, 17. So you just take what you can get from a guy and you understand how much greatness he brings to you. And we had some awesome basketball games in the first half of this season when he was on the floor. And we were in the 4th spot when everybody was healthy. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, without a healthy Brandon Ingram. So we didn't really have all of our pieces together at all this season. I don't think Luke Walton had the pieces in place to run the system he wanted to run. He's particularly weak in the area of rotations. So even with a limited roster that isn't his roster, he didn't get the most out of them based on just his rotation schemes that I never, ever find myself agreeing with. Literally never. But philosophies on basketball don't necessarily translate to failures. Just because people don't agree with one another on the philosophies of the game doesn't mean that they both can't win the same game running different philosophies. So I don't hold my hat on that. More so I look at the progression of the young players under his tutelage. And to be completely honest, I was happy with that. That aspect of his game or his coaching I thought was strong. Even though the relationships with those kids weren't always great. D'Lo, Randall in particular, and Lonzo. But all in all, I think I like how those kids are coming along in their careers, and I think he had a great jump start to the processes that they are in. So I got to preface that by saying I'm not sure if he actually even coached D'Lo. I don't think he did. Let me run that back. I don't think he actually was here for D'Angelo Russell. But in the same time, there were other young players that played great, so we can just remove him and keep those other guys in there, including some guys that I didn't mention that are also playing very well. And they had Luke Walton as their coach. So if I can shoot Luke some bail, it would be that. I think he develops young players pretty well, regardless if they're winning or not. They get better under him. So give him that. But at this point in time, I think it's great that the Lakers are in a position to fire him. I don't think it's a good spot for him. I don't think it's a good spot for us to have him as coach. I would like to see him in a situation where he has a little more young talent and less expectations. I think that the Lakers need to be thinking about committing to something. Either committing to LeBron James's timeline or committing to the youth movement, and something has to give. I never agree with giving up on kids. Never. Unless they just suck, I don't think you should. Lonzo Ball, I'm a fan of. I wouldn't trade him off the strength of that. But to zoom out, I understand why others are disappointed in his play. But not I. I know better. And 5 years from now, when he's an all-star, I will remind everyone that I was never confused about that. I always thought he would be, just like I always thought D'Angelo Russell would be an all-star, just like I think Julius Randle's going to be an all-star, just like I think Ingram's going to be an all-star, etc. It just takes time. The rule of thumb for me is to give kids 5 years. 5 years. 5 seasons to get their nutrition in order. 5 seasons to get their bodies in order. 5 seasons to knock off the knick-knack injuries that come with just not being very strong, trying to bang up against grown-ass men. Now, there are always exceptions to that rule, of course. But the average player / star in this league does not develop who they are in this league till after 4 or 5 years. At year 6, you know who a guy is. Rarely will you see a guy get so much better from year 6 to year 7 to year 8. It's rare, unless they come into the league extremely early, like a Giannis or something like that, or Brandon Ingram will. It may take him a couple more years than others because they came in so early. Lonzo is included, unfortunately, but that's just is what it is. I don't think the Lakers have to really do a lot. If they strike out in free agency this year and don't make the playoffs, I don't think it matters as much as people think. And the reason being is because you got LeBron James locked in regardless. He ain't got to like it. And if he's unhappy, he can leave at any time he wants. All he's going to do is trade him, and he's a very tradable piece. So there's no LeBron James holdup. The holdup is psychologically knowing that you're letting go someone that great when you had so much time wasted trying to attract somebody half as great as him. You got the greatest player in the world, and now you can't do anything with him. But the reality is it has nothing to do with that because he's just on a different type of time. His timeline is different than what we have. The Lakers don't necessarily need to be trying to keep up with LeBron James' 34-year-old body when you have a plethora of 22-year-old bodies with star upside. It just doesn't make any sense. So if I'm a Laker exec going forward, I'm committing to something. I don't know what's right and I don't know what's wrong, but you commit to something and you stick to it, because that's what the Lakers did wrong. That's what Magic Johnson did wrong. He thought he can have the youth movement and the LeBron movement at the same time, and the timelines didn't add up, and it didn't work. That's the bottom line. And nothing comes easy, nothing comes overnight. And when Golden State is in existence, you just got to take a step back. Every team is going to have to figure that out these playoffs. I hate to break it to everybody, but the Warriors are still going to win the championship. It's going to happen. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. When you have players that great who can stretch the floor, and four of them, or 3 out of the 4 players can drop 60 on their best night, sometimes they may be able to drop 60 all at the same time on some crazy stuff. You're not beating them in a 7-game series. You may get a game out of them. You may get 2. But the only way they lose a series is if they lose focus and decide they're not going to play their best. Good luck with that one. So, yeah, that was my thing with the Lakers in the beginning. Don't make any moves. Keeps everybody down to the very last player. Win your 40 games or 38 games, and then go into free agency with a plethora of young players, LeBron James, and $100 million of cap space. That is all they had to do. What they did, though, was remove key pieces that made the team deep. Zubac, Svi, TB, Randall, they made your team deep. You remove those players from your equation, and now you want to provide a big stack of money for a free agent to come in and run with LeBron James with no bench. That is not a good selling point when you got 5 or 6 other teams full of free agency that may not have better players who may or may not want to play with LeBron James in the first place. So if you are one of those players that don't want to play with this dude, and then you look at what the Lakers have, you don't want to come here at all. So it's like, commit to something, Lakers. You got Anthony Davis who wants to be here come hell or high water. But trading the farm for him wasn't possible then, and it isn't going to be possible this offseason. What the Lakers need to try to do, and this is a very tricky thing, but this is why you need a guy like Masai Ujiri or one of these high-profile execs who really actually do executive work. You get those people in place, and you try to create rapport with the teams that you think may do a deal for Anthony Davis. That's what you do. You make sure that your connections to those people are straight. So when the Pelicans do pull the trigger on a deal, you can turn around and do a deal with that team. Because whoever gets Anthony Davis, with the exception of the Celtics, has 100% certainty that they are not re-signing him. He wants to be in LA. He wants to be a Laker. And so it's like, at that point, it would be wise for teams who are looking to trade for him to maybe think about flipping him again for what the Lakers can offer you, especially if we get a pretty solid draft pick. What I want the Lakers to do is try to get higher in this draft, maybe try to squeeze into the 4 spot, 5 spot in this lottery. If we got the 10th pick, maybe couple it with something that we have to give away, and hopefully put ourselves in a position, making a salad, to be able to acquire Anthony Davis this offseason with that pick. Now, if that pick is the number 1 pick, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not giving that away. If it's the number 2 pick, not me. I believe in Ja Morant, and I believe in Zion Williamson to that extent. I'm not letting those guys go at all. I don't feel the same way about RJ Barrett. I haven't watched a whole lot of him, but when I did watch him, I was not as impressed as others. I understand that he has superior skill. He'll probably be an all-star in this league several times over, and I think a lot of that, when his development comes along, will probably be long forgotten. But this stage where the draft is right now, from what I've seen, he's 3rd for me. Zion 1st, Josh 2nd. So if the Lakers can climb into the top 2, that would be amazing. I don't know how realistic that would be. Probably not, but these are the type of things the Lakers need to be considering. That's how you move forward. You want to commit to something and then strategize yourself into a position to get what you want and repair some of these relationships with these teams. It became so obvious to me that the Lakers only had a few teams that were willing to do deals with them. The Pistons, the Clippers, if you give them something ridiculous. And was there anybody else that even did work with us? I don't think anybody else even did business with us. The Pistons were always willing to give us trash. So with that being said, get a GM in place who can repair some of that, some of those relationships, because it's. I don't need a reporter to tell me that they don't want to do business with Rob Pelinka. Okay, I don't need an official report coming my way to tell me that GMs have issues with that dude. That's obvious. He's an ex-agent, one of the greatest agents, and he stepped into this field and thought he could run it, and it was predictable. You knew people were going to have problems with him because he had done so many deals in the agent field, and there's nothing about being an agent that screams friendship and brotherhood. I mean, it's a dog-eat-dog business, and he was one of the guys at the top of it. So this was predictable. I was hoping it wouldn't go this way, but I'm not at all surprised to see the report saying that nobody wants to deal with Rob Pelinka. It has nothing to do with him as a person. He seems like a great guy, actually. But when it comes to business, you've had success. That means you've had to step on toes, and that's just comes with being an agent. So 17 minutes in, I've said all that I need to say at this point. Magic Johnson, I don't look at you as a quitter. I'm not going to hold this against you. I probably would have done the same thing. Especially since they're making you out to be the bad guy every time something happens in tampering. When we all know your intention is not to tamper. So, at least I believe that. I ain't going to speak for anyone else, but I don't believe his intention was ever to tamper. I think his intention was to be as Magic Johnson has always been, dishing out assists both on and off the court to make people feel better. That's just what he does, and he's great at it. So shout out to Magic Johnson. You're a legend to me, brother. I love you. Thank you for all you've done. You've inspired me over the years. I don't hate what you've done here, and you got my support forevermore. Going forward, I just hope that whoever the Lakers hire for the the president position is in a position to feel like he's ready for what it comes with it. Not halfway in, not halfway out, not feeling as if, when things get hot or hectic, that it's going to go haywire or that it can't be repaired. Someone who's centered on this position for this position because they're in love with it and good at it. So I'm thinking of Masai Ujiri, I'm thinking of David Griffin, I'm thinking of Daryl Morey. I'm thinking of people who are already in great positions that we can hopefully steal them from. I'm thinking Jerry West. I'm thinking, I'm even thinking Danny Ainge, to be completely honest with you. I'm thinking Danny Ferry. I'm thinking all the names of the guys that I know have had success in this league, and there are several others that I have not mentioned, but they're good out there. I like the guys in Brooklyn. Everything they did in Brooklyn over the last several years was amazing. They pulled themselves out of nothing and put themselves in a position to be a playoff team within 3 years. That's the kind of guys the Lakers need to invest in. So I don't know if we have the people in place right now to make the right decisions, but if the Lakers are going to put themselves in a position to succeed, they have to hire the right president right away. This can't drag into the draft. This cannot even drag into the playoffs, really. We got to hire somebody. So, Lakers for life, or no matter what, it's purple and gold. But as of right now, it's about as bad and as disinteresting, if that's a word, uninteresting of a season as I can remember. I don't remember being this detached from Laker stuff. So, anyway, I've talked enough. You've heard enough. God bless you all. Peace out.